always get some complaint. Either they're, not bright enough, not energy, but this is good. Okay, I'm going to be good
These
now.
are 0.0006 amps per bulb. So I think
Awesome.
10 amps is like.
How warm are the
1600.
lights though?
What?
Yeah, the color.
What is the color of the light? It's like the warmth value thing.
So it's more of a 4000 K. They're debating between the 4000 K and the 2700 actively.
Okay.
That's why the 4000 K ones are up.
2700.
27. The 4000 K ones are up. I am a warm white fan.
Yeah.
There is a huge debate going on. Like, I'm a warm white and no blue because I think the blue LED is just like burn your retina.
Yeah.
Blue,
Yes.
but so.
I mean, at the very least, if you're gonna go like do a poll, just like throw it out to the masses. Because you know what? The masses are gonna have an opinion come November.
Yeah, but you know what it's gonna be? It's gonna be 50-50. That's what
Yep. Somebody's
But at
always
least people
gonna be
have
upset.
asked.
Yeah.
It never hurts to ask.
It's nice to have controversies like the color of your Christmas lights.
Right.
So, yeah, we're good.
Okay, my friends. Welcome to virtual Streets and Sidewalks 2022, because there's still a pandemic. It's 7:01. It's our first meeting of the year. It's exciting. Well, first Streets and
Second
Sidewalks
meeting of the year.
Present here are committee members. Me, Jack Subel, and Andrew Rocky. Also present are from council are Ms. Rogoff, Ms. DiBernardo, and from the administration, we have Mr. Jameson and Mr. Lannon. So first item up is very, very exciting. We have a new memo of understanding with Chagrin River Watershed Partners. It's a 5-year agreement updating the one we currently have. It's on our legislative docket for tonight. So the hope is that we will talk about it a little bit and then either recommend it or not to the council. And then when we go to the council meeting, we'll be like, hey, we recommended this or not. So step one. Any concerns, thoughts, questions, discussion on the watershed understanding?
Yeah, I've got one.
Okay.
We're passing it under a state of emergency, and so I guess when does the old agreement expire?
It's already expired. It's a calendar year sort of thing. We received this recently from Watershed Partners. They said, "Can you just sign it and return it?" And I explained that we have the way that we're set up. We have to take this agreement to council and get their approval. So that's when we started the process to propose it as ordinance. It doesn't have to be in place at all times, so it's not like there's any issues by leaving it on readings if you had to. It's a pretty straightforward memorandum of understanding. It helps it allows the village to be in compliance with our MS4 phase 2 stormwater permit with the Ohio Environmental Protection Agency, which we're required to do by law. And it helps us meet our minimum control measures as outlined in the MOU. So there's certain services that are outlined in there that have to be, or that they perform, and then also additional services on an as needed or as selected basis for additional cost. You will see in the MOU, there's no cost specified because all of the services they're performing is related to our annual dues, which they give us an annual cost proposal every year based on a lot of their factors. So it's kind of an overall, we've been partnering with them since the mid-90s for these services. We've been a member, we were one of the charter member communities of the Watershed Partners, and they've done an outstanding job in helping us meet our requirements.
One question from a new guy. Is this the same group that was helping us with the Locust Lane issue?
Yes, it is. One of the services they offer is they'll perform site visits and provide guidance to residents that are having erosion issues, stormwater management issues on their property, give them ideas and suggestions, and then also work between the resident and the village if there's matters that the village can be involved in. And they provide expert guidance and feedback on solutions to these sorts of problems. We've been using them quite a bit in recent years due to the increased storm events we've been having and increased concern and interest in stormwater management throughout the village.
And do you have a back of the napkin number what our annual dues are?
About $7,200, $7,300.
Doesn't seem like it's enough.
It's a very reasonable amount given the professional level of service they provide us and the expertise that they give. It's very, very positive. I can tell you that we're going to be starting a review. We have to submit an updated pollution prevention plan to EPA by April 1st. So Watershed Partners will be helping us review the new requirements and helping us update our operations to meet our new permit requirements. So that is a pretty big urgent need in the coming months here.
Okay. And then obviously they're still working on the Locust Lane stuff. And as we get the data in from the stormwater assessments, are they going to be involved in helping us review and prioritize on that data or less so?
They're involved in that process. They've looked at some grant opportunities and they're working in kind of conjunction with CT and their stormwater study in that area. They've provided some feedback and some working with some of the residents in that area.
And then they're also involved in cemetery expansion with the question of the open airing of that stream. And then
yes, they submitted the grant application on behalf of the village, the EPA 319 grant for the stream daylighting application on the south side of the cemetery, and we're awaiting results in the spring from that application.
Okay. I mean, obviously, I also wish it wasn't on an emergency because, you know how I feel about emergencies.
I mean, do we? Would they continue to work with us? I mean, have we paid our dues? Is the real question.
Well, we haven't received our invoice for 2022 yet. It will be budgeted for, will be planned for. I mean, we are going to be utilizing them to delay it a month and a half. That's up to you. That's your call, but it's a pretty straightforward agreement. And there's really nobody else to perform these services for us, especially at this kind of rate.
Yeah, I guess at the end of the day, I feel like we should pass it because we do need the work to continue. I just would like to see this stuff start coming in where we don't have to pass an emergency.
Yeah, I mean, it can be passed, but it would be nice to start seeing this stuff a little bit earlier on, just so that we can do the 3 readings and we're using the emergency stuff for true emergencies.
Right.
Well, I mean, I can only bring it to you when I'm given it from the Watershed Partners. So as soon as they get it to me, I turn it around as quick as we can.
Right. But from their standpoint, like, I'd also like them just to understand that we renew this every 5 years. So this is this council's only time that we review this. And I think the work that they do is important. I think they're a great partner. My issue isn't with them. It's just, we need them to work on our timeline. And we can't be the only municipality that requires readings for this kind of thing. And when we do review something so infrequently because of the length of the contract, I just think it's valuable for the whole community that we have it on readings as an awareness builder and just from a transparency standpoint. But
you can keep it on readings if you like.
Angie?
Oh, I think I was just going to ask if we knew if we know that the contracts are coming due, do we have an internal calendar for those things so that we know which contracts? I mean, are we really just waiting for receipt that we have to? Because we've been doing this, we've been under contract with them for a while.
This is coming up. It doesn't have an exact time when they have it prepared. I mean, other contracts have very defined
this
time
doesn't.
periods. It's a calendar year, but as far as receiving the new proposal, it's in the beginning of the new term, and as soon as they have it prepared, they send it out and we push it through. I mean, it's not like it has to be in place January 1st, like other contracts or agreements are. This, so, we can wait 3 readings if you'd like, and implement it at that time.
Okay.
But we'd still probably need to pass as an emergency because then 3 readings brings us to February 14th. And then you add 30 days for it to go into effect, which means it's mid-March, which means we need them doing something else by then. So I also don't want to like mess up our grant opportunities either by not passing it as an emergency. So it's like this double-edged sword. Okay, well, despite my reservations about emergency legislation, which is always my fun thing, I'm going to motion to recommend this to council.
Second.
So motion by group, second by Rocky. All those in favor say aye. I see Jack raising his hand saying aye. Oh, there he said aye, sorry. Andrew, say aye. Or no, or you could say no too. I didn't mean to tell you you had to vote. And then I vote yes. So we will recommend this unanimously to council. Okay. Electric vehicle charging stations. This came up at the end of last year, that there are some grants currently circulating that would cover the full equipment cost for electric charging vehicle stations in the village. Or if we wanted to, we could use these grants to get, publicly accessible charging stations in the village. I think that's a better way to say it. So I wanted just to have an initial conversation about this. The grant opportunity that I thought we were eligible for, Tim tells me the fancy roads are too far away from us and I misread the mapping. So I apologize, but I do think it's an important conversation to have. I think we need to I personally think we should probably be looking for grant opportunities from an economic development standpoint, and the fact that I just frequently see people looking for charging hookups when people come to visit them and happen to have electric vehicles. It's certainly an increasing mode of transportation. So Tim, my understanding is we're not eligible for the diesel grants, the VW diesel grants, not diesel, VW diesel grants.
If that's the one through the OEPA,
Yeah,
that's just what I stumbled across in one of the, we're still looking at it. There could be other paragraphs that overrule the one that we found that said within 2 miles of a class 3 roadway, that kind of thing. But Cuyahoga County also had a map that excluded our little corner of the county. So, but there's other grants out there. So we're still looking, obviously, and, just can prioritize that on our list.
I'm just shocked that the county would not give us something. Just shocked.
And I don't know why this is the way it is, but it's a state grant that they were, providing their own information on. So that it was a county map. It could have been generated by the state for all we know. So,
okay.
But I'll find that information and circulate it just to have a little backup on. It was actually Alexa that found it in my office.
This is
Go ahead, Andrew.
probably something we need to get parking involved in too, because this is, as soon as we get people to have on that committee, because where are we going to put it is going to be the real question, because you want them to be accessible, but then you don't want like just people parking in it all day long. Like there's a whole thing that goes along with it, I think.
There is, which is why I think an initial conversation about gauging our interest before we ask CT to start using time and using any time to find us funding solutions. I think we should at least decide if it's something as a council that we're sort of interested in. So I wanted to bring it up for initial conversation.
I'd be super interested in it if we could implement it as a revenue generator. I mean, at some point in time.
That's the next step, is that there's, we can get the equipment through a grant, and then we can work with a third party provider who updates it, manages some of the electric pieces, and then we can also source some revenue from it, which I would want to have a fund for repairs. But, eventually after that, I think we could use the money for some unique things. Angie, you are very close to the world of electric vehicles. As I understand, you may actually own one.
I am the token electric vehicle owner here. At least I think, I don't know. But yeah, no, I would obviously, as a council member, I'm not a member of this committee. I think it's an attraction. Also, speaking on behalf of the merchants, I do know that it's something people think we're the kind of destination that's a nice place for people to come and spend the day. I did take this out to the group of EV owners that I know online, and got all kinds of comments. And, everyone was very excited about the idea that Chagrin Falls might get charging stations. And this is, we're talking, I think, one or two. We're not talking about like a bank of charging stations. Right. But there was a lively discussion about the fact that the kind of person that would probably be using these is somebody who has like a Chevy Volt or some kind of one of the smaller battery chargers that if they were to come out here from Cleveland, they might not have enough charge to get back. So if they were going to come and spend the day on those small battery things, they would need a place to plug in. And having that available in our downtown area, especially with a lot of restaurants, with a theater, with the waterfall, a nice walking path, things to do, it might be an attraction for people that are using EV vehicles. And as you say, it's growing in popularity by leaps and bounds. I think everyone's got an EV in their lineup now with all the different companies. So I think it makes us look forward thinking. And I think we should, if we can find, I was excited before too, when you were telling me there were grant opportunities. If we can find that, that'd be great. And then I also wanted to weigh in that ChargePoint or Blink, the major networks that provide the paid charging. I've been driving around, traveling for a while, going to different places. And that's the most common thing that I find is you're paying some small fee for your electricity. So I don't think people have any expectation they'd be plugging in for free. They expect that they're going to come in, but there'll be an available place for them to plug in and charge. So I think that looking at us going along with a third party network is the right way to go to give us some maintenance money on the long term.
So when you look at an ideal charging setup, what do those parking spaces look like? Are we talking parallel spaces or are we looking at perpendicular?
You want to have a spot, you want to be, you don't want to put it in a high traffic area. Andrew is correct in saying you don't want to put it like right downtown where people are going to be tempted to park. And then it's going to be what we call iced, which is blocked by internal combustion engine. Somebody pulls in and parks there that isn't an electric vehicle. And that creates all kinds of tension. People get very worked up about that. So you want to put it, kind of near, for us, everything is near the downtown. We're very small. So, the places that I've looked at that have been run by me are something in the Muni lot, the municipal lot across from Village Hall. Something in the Plaza lot or something in the Cuffs lot. Those are all, kind of tucked away, but also you can walk out of your car and go to any restaurant. You're on the sidewalks and you can get anywhere.
Those Muni lot spaces along that back wall would be good places where vehicles can, it seems like they're always backing in.
Exactly.
So places,
you have to maneuver.
Right. So places where they can back in is going to be the key. And I have a weird question. So I know that there's the Tesla style charger and there is I think it's IEC standard charger. There's like an international standard and then there's the Tesla one. So if you buy the international standard one, can your Tesla charge at that one? I'm always confused by that.
So there's like the level 2 chargers, those L2 chargers that you see in all these networks. They have a standard plug-in, I think it's called like the J1772 or something, charging like outlet. And that fits any vehicle. Your Tesla comes automatically with that. So you can plug in. And I think almost every car now you would have those because that's the most common kind of a place to plug in you can find. So so I'm assuming that's what we'd be looking at. We wouldn't want to get into these like wars between different standards. I think we'd want to just get the standard that most people can plug into, and it's a universal charger. At least that's that's it's a higher speed than plugging into your wall outlet, but it's not the high speed charging. We're not talking about that. I'm assuming no one's talking about high speed chargers. So
yeah, it is that SAE standard for whatever it ends up being.
That one set, yeah.
It's a universal type charger.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
How long does it take to charge a vehicle?
Well, I think for most of these, you're not really talking about, I would assume, we should look at things, but I would assume that you're going to have street regulations on the parking space as well, and that we can do that at the same time. Nobody's probably going to charge to full. You're going to pick up however many miles you can get when you plug in. So my guess is, nobody's going to plug in for for 20 minutes, but people would plug in for an hour or two. Might plug in for 2 hours. Like I was saying, if you came from downtown Cleveland and you have your battery has a short range, say you only get, 12, 15 miles on your battery. Now, like the Teslas have very long range batteries, so they're a very different story. But say you have like a very short range battery and you've driven here, you might want to plug in, pick up a few miles so you feel safe getting home on that kind of thing. So, I don't think that, if I were to charge to full, yeah, you might be in the spot for, all day. And we don't want that though. And we can regulate against that. I think you can say, there's a limit to how long you can stay in the spot. I don't think that there's anything that says you have to provide, full-time parking. It's just the charger's there. So.
Jack, do you have any thoughts? Do you feel like this is worth exploring?
Absolutely. I mean, I look at the lifestyle centers around town, right? They all have them. I know that, just from watching CNBC on a religious basis that the volume of EVs over the next 2, 3, 4 years is going to triple, quadruple, right? So I think, and from a perception standpoint, I think the community would view that as being we would be viewed as a forward-looking group, right? The issue that I've had with them in the past is that a lot of times these lifestyle centers or whatever will use them for primo spots, right? The prime spots, and try to incentivize people to go electric and have spot. We don't have that luxury. So the discussion around putting them somewhere that, yes, they're available, but they're not available in the absolutely the prime spots, right? So I wonder, the first thing that came to my mind was wondering if it wasn't a good way to do a public-private partnership with maybe the Murphys or someone like that we have put them in that parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think the merchants would love to sit, and so, no, I'm all for it. Absolutely.
Awesome. Andrew, you sound like you're on board.
Oh yeah.
Especially
if we can make some money.
I know, right? Be kind of a fun way to fund some economic development opportunities like new music in town or events in town.
I gotta believe though that the hourly charge is so nominal.
Right.
I mean, you're talking pennies, right?
That's what I would think.
Probably.
It's not a big money maker. I would recommend, this is just because for longevity, that we figure out what it's going to cost to maintain them if we were going to do them, and then figure out how much money do we need to get into an account for maintenance before we start saying, hey, we can spend any of this coming in, because I think it's going to be a drip of cash, not a flood.
You're talking about hundreds of dollars annually, probably.
Yeah. Well, and I think at the
Might be
beginning
10.
though, right? Because you're looking at an initial step into the market where you're going to maybe put in a dual charger system. So you have two that are right next to each other. But then as you see market share going up with electric vehicles, I suspect we're going to see a situation where we have demand. So I think how we step into it from a finance standpoint is going to set the pace for future councils for how they're going to step in as they expand this utility, because essentially that's what it is.
I think we should expect too the debate, whether it's on Village Block Club or wherever, that if we're these exclusively for electric vehicles, the parking situation is already just such a hot potato that in a hot button that people are going to really.
It is. But I also think.
Agree.
But I would also argue that we have some meters that are not well utilized that would fit the parameters of perpendicular parking that I think are located near electric poles that we could sort of explore. So we're not taking away from high demand parking, but rather trying to find ways to better utilize those nook and cranny spots, if you will. I don't mean like they're hidden, but the ones we don't fill as frequently.
No, I agree. And I totally expect that debate, you're right. I mean, that people will jump on that. But I still think, on the whole, if you're talking a couple of spots, it's worth it. So,
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Okay, so Tim, we are interested in exploring some grant opportunities. Can we connect on the VW diesel grants? And because I read that and I swore we were eligible, but maybe I was just off on my mileage. So let's connect. And if
Yeah,
we're not eligible
definitely.
for that, let's find another little pot of gold somewhere that we can maybe tap into.
Yeah, there's more than one out there for sure. We'll check
Awesome.
on any other sources. Yep.
Awesome, because there's some, when in the VW one, at least there's definitely some funding advantages by putting this on municipal property where they're going to be publicly available 24/7 versus private property. The VW grants were offering 100% for public property installations, but only 80% for private property installations. So if we were looking at private property ones, we're going to have to make up that gap in funding. And I don't know that we want to be tapping into the general fund for this. But if we can find 100%, grants, I think it becomes almost a no-brainer. Yes, I know 2 parking spots, but still. Okay, cool. Well, this was a fun initial conversation, guys.
I'm curious to what that tab is on the top. Tesla owners of North. See it?
Yeah, that was a printout of
Oh, yeah, that's my,
Angie had said was feedback from owners.
yeah,
To the
Gotcha.
question of electric vehicles in Chagrin.
yeah.
Gotcha.
I sent them all my comments. And I was inspired to ask them for comments because the exact same day they had made fun of a recent municipality that had put in spots in the wrong areas. So I told them, okay, here I am. Tell me
Okay.
what we should do. So they did.
We are going to adjourn at 7:26 because we all need to exit this
Yep.
meeting and log into Zoom on the council link that you were sent. So I will see you in the other room in just a moment. We are adjourned at 7:26.